Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fifth round of the MX Cup Championship on the World Sim Series platform. The penultimate fifth round takes us to Japan, Shimotsuma town, a circuit called Tsukuba. It is a very tiny, short circuit, only 2 kilometers long. It has 12 corners and is one of the most technical circuits on the calendar so far. Qualifying session is well underway, and we have a new leader who is on a provisional pole position at this moment. That's Yuri Lapo. He's only 1,000 of a second ahead of Livell, and it changed suddenly because Livell puts in a slightly faster lap of 4,000 of a second. Look at how tight it is at the front. Carlos Meškelis, the driver who won the pole position 2 weeks ago. He's currently third, and he's looking for a better result this afternoon. Before we begin with the race itself, and before we get the chance to look at the qualifying session results, let's take a quick look at the championship standings. It's Mendelis who is out in the front with 35 kilograms added weight, and he suffers from slight lack of speed. Well, he stated that he thinks that he's losing about 3/10 per lap. Roughly 3/10 per lap due to the weight. Gonzalo is currently second, and Caetano is currently third. These are the championship standings, while we have 6.54 seconds left. Yuri Lapo, he manages to start another fast lap. He didn't go faster with this one, but I've seen him coming back from the pit lane, so that means he's still trying to warm up the tires that are not being warmed up that easily. That means the drivers have to weave and swave around on the first laps. Carlos Meškelis crosses the line. He goes first at this moment, taking the provisional pole position, similarly how he was on pole 2 weeks ago. So nice performance. Hopefully he has learned something useful from the race 1 week ago, where he was really unsuccessful. The first race was a nightmare. He finished fifth. Then the second one was even worse for Carlos Meškelis. So he was really frustrated and came here with higher hopes for better results. Yuri Lapo 29 hundredths of a second behind Meškelis, and he's third, about to cross the line, and I think he's one of the last drivers. And okay, that was it. The qualifying session is over. I'm not sure why we have ended it so quickly, but it looks like he was not on a fast lap. So the qualifying session is done, and the results of the first division are live on your screens. And we have Carlos Meškelis, who is on provisional pole position at this moment. I wanted to say that he's at provisional pole position at this moment, but he's actually on pole position. Livell will start from P2, Lapo third, Pointner fourth, Sabutis fifth, Mendelis only P6. He'll try to get as many points as possible to continue leading in this championship. Turent 7th, Goodell 8th, Krebs 9th, Buric 10th, Calleas 11th, Contreras 12th, Pleman 13th, Abad 14th, Caetano only P15, Gonzalo 16th, Makovic 17th, Getsavicius 18th, and we've lost the results, and Katai 19th. So a couple of new names again in this race. We've had new names as far as my memory goes 2 weeks ago. So new drivers attending this championship. Well, we did have 3 divisions running. We have 2 divisions open this afternoon. On the penultimate round, there are 8 drivers in the second division trying to chase their dream and go for wins. As we get ready for the start of this race, hopefully our race control car will be teleported to the pit lane safely. Roughly 5 seconds till we go green. Carlos Meškelis on your right screen, on the right side of your screen, Livell on the left side. And it's green, and away we go. Carlos Meškelis, he's there again, up in front. It looks like he didn't have a clean getaway from the start, and he has to go defensive because Lapo is on the outside, Livell is on the inside. everyone tried to go through safely, but as usual, we tend to have some small incidents in the first corners, and it's a tight circuit. It's really twisty, and don't forget that the tires are cold, and you can see the consequences of the drivers trying to go a little bit too hot into the corners with cold tires. Look how twitchy and slidey the cars are around the corners. The drivers usually have the chance to warm up the tires in those practice runs and qualifying session runs. They don't have the chance to swerve around the track, across the track, and try to bring up the heat into the tires, so they have to live with that. And what I've heard, that is really hard to bring up the temperatures of the tires on this circuit. Matas Mendelis up to P4, so 1 position gained from the race start, but that's tight, and he has the heaviest car. Not sure if that's gonna be bad news for Matas Mendelis or good news, because, well, the weight of his car should help him slightly with the temperatures of his tires. And Juri Lapo, he was one of the fastest drivers of the pre-qualifying session. We had 17 drivers, I believe, within 7/10 of each other in the pre-qualifying session, and Juri Lapo was one of the faster ones. He tries to kind of use that advantage in this race, but currently is stuck behind Livell. He didn't have a successful qualifying session, and Sabutis, someone was off on the grass, and that's definitely not Juri Lapo. I think that was Pointner, car number 24, well, at least the livery is 24. But he's back in action, and that's gonna be tight as always. 2 15-minute long races. The second one will see the top 5 finishers of the first race in a reversed order on the grid, so that usually brings a little bit more confusion for the drivers, and it gives more hope to the drivers who finish a little bit lower in the first race. Carlos Mascalis currently doing what he needs to do and tries to avoid mistakes, building up the gap. He's already 1.1 seconds ahead of Lapo, who just got himself into P2, so finally manages to use the speed advantage, well, the speed that he is able to carry around this track, and he will try to chase down Carlos Mascalis in the remaining 12 minutes. I'm pretty sure Juri Lapo is looking at a much better result this evening. In the 5th round, Juri Lapo is currently 6th in the championship standings, behind Toro Stonila, who is absent for the 2nd race in a row, and I believe Toro Stonila, as similarly as Jan Nimtz, has aborted his presence in this championship, so he was not able to sit behind his computer in his rig and try to be in this race. I'm pretty sure he would lovely turn his wheel around those corners of the Japanese circuit. Contreras 5th, he's already 3.5 seconds behind Matas Mendelis, so it looks like that's gonna be the second battle, the second group of cars battling for the higher places. This is provisional pole position, by the way, so Buric, Abad and Caetano will surely try to kind of gain that position. And that's usually the case, what happens in these races. A lot of battles, small mistakes sometimes can cost you a couple of places. Mascalis losing that advantage slightly. He was almost 1/10 slower on the previous lap. Juri Lapo set the fastest lap time of the race so far, and gap is disappearing. But as usual, it's sometimes easier to gain on your rival than overtake him. So he'll definitely try to chase down Carlos Mascalis in the remaining minutes of this first race, but then he'll have to come up with another plan, and he will have to figure out how to make that move for the lead. Livell, who dropped to P3, he's now the fastest car on the racetrack, and he was 2.5 tenths faster than Carlos Mascalis, so the 4 cars out in front are kind of getting closer to each other. Matas Mendelis with the heaviest car on the grid this afternoon. He's kind of falling behind, but still holding to that position. Buric is up to 5th. I think Contreras was fifth before, yep, and Contreras is down in P18. So there was definitely fights happening on the racetrack, and race control will have a little bit of work to do. We have race control. We should have race control working behind his desk this afternoon. Get savages with Gonzalo, Turent and other drivers side by side around the corners of the Tsukuba circuit. 12th corner is the last one. Mid-speed corner, and you have to kind of wait out until you can get back on the power. If you do that too early, you risk to run a little bit too wide on the exit and lose a little bit of traction to have a good exit speed into turn and good speed coming into turn one. Get savages on the inside, still holds to that, but he lost his rear end and lost all the traction. So lost the positions to Gonzalo. Gonzalo up to P11. Poitner right on the tail of Sabutis, and still no changes at the front. Caetano managed to put his car into P8. He qualified 15th, so that's 7 position gained in the first race, and he's only 3 positions behind the pole position for the second race, though those 3 positions are roughly 3 seconds away, so he'll need to figure something out to try and perform slightly better to try and chase down for that provisional pole in the first race. But still, finishing P8 would give him higher chances in the second race as he had in the first one. And as usual, bigger battles further at the back. Turent with a late dive, clipping with Makovic, it was, I believe. Clipping sides, or was it Krebs maybe? So Krebs lost 2 places. Makovic up to 13th, and Turent is now up to P12th. This is one of the closest battles on the circuit, on the small 2-kilometer long track located in Japan. But I'm pretty sure these Mazdas are born for this track. It's really technical, even though it's small, and not all drivers manage to live with the circuit and be really exceptionally fast. But the gaps are close, and the whole grid is currently separated by only 22 seconds. 3 wide down the straight into turn 1, up the hill, which is a really tight hairpin. But the track has quite a big amount of width, so 3 cars definitely can fit into the first corner if the drivers don't fool around. Into turn 5, through turn 6, side by side, and continue to touch. So Katai and Plemen are currently in a nice battle with each other, trying to not take each other out, but still giving each other quite fair competitive racing. Who's that braking so late? That's Contreras. He's down in 17th, and he's furious to get back into the higher places. He was running 5th at one point of this race at the very beginning, and the 5th position was would have guaranteed him to start from pole position in race 2, and he has to settle down with lower positions. And yeah, it's hard for the driver to try and stick with the drivers and not do silly mistakes. Look how late on the brakes is Callejas, and he takes Contreras out, and that's definitely a penalty from race control, because that's not how you gain positions. Oh, that's a really big shame for Contreras. He's down in P19, and well, there was not much he could do in that situation. And your only goal in such races is try and stay as far in front as possible, because well, there are battles in front, but there are less silly mistakes. Of course, things happen when the drivers have hot heads. All of them are on a similar pace with these cars, and sometimes the rivals can do not that pretty moves. Yuri Lapov sets the fastest lap time of this race as he tries to chase down Carolis Meškelis, so his fastest lap time was almost a little bit more than 1.5 tenths faster than the fastest lap time of Meškelis, and the gap is down to 0.6 of a second. Still plenty of time. We have roughly 5 laps of race, 1 on our clock, maybe even 6. Depends on when the drivers will cross the line. I believe we are 5 laps away from the finish line, so Carolis Meškelis, it's getting tighter at the front, and if Juri Lapo will avoid further mistakes, he will definitely have a good chance to try and get that position from Carolis Meškelis, who came down into this race trying to be better. Carolis Meškelis, 1 minute 1 second 9 tenths. Livell goes fastest, and he's now right on the tail of Juri Lapo, so he's currently 0.8 of a second behind the 2 cars at front, but that's definitely gonna get tighter in a couple of moments, because Juri Lapo is right on the tail of Carolis Meškelis, and as soon as Carolis Meškelis will have to go defensive, both of the drivers will start to lose time. That's when the chance of Livell might come into action, and look how much he was able to gain in one corner. That's the 10th and 11th corners. It's interestingly, the numbers of the corners are interestingly handed out. Every corner has 2 apexes, and every apex has the number for one corner. Juri Lapo running side by side with Carolis Meškelis, and went on the power a little bit too soon. He had to lift off, and that almost gave the chance for Livell to get into action, and he's straight into action side by side through turns 1 and 2, and Livell is up in front of Juri Lapo, so the 2 faster drivers are still stuck behind Carolis Meškelis. How late on the brakes was Juri Lapo, and he managed to get back the position from Livell, and I'm pretty sure Carolis Meškelis is just hoping and praying that the drivers behind him would continue battling with each other, because, well, on pure pace he's not able to get away from the drivers. They managed to chase him down, so he has to kind of relay on the battles happening behind him, which still is not happening. Juri Lapo, will he go for another overtake attempt? 1/10 separating these drivers. This time he decides that he needs to stick with the back of Carolis Meškelis and maybe figure out something approaching turn 1. Still staying behind. Is it gonna to be a late dive into the inside? Nope, Livell was trying to figure out something. Both of the leaders running a little bit wide. Carolis Meškelis goes twitchy. Juri Lapo is in front. Carolis has to shut the door for Livell before turns 5 and 6 into the braking, and we see Juri Lapo, the driver who was fastest in the pre-qualifying session, he took the lead. So the next steps for Carolis Meškelis is just to try and stay as close to the back end of Juri Lapo's Mazda MX5, and he's not able to do that. The gap extends already to 0.6 of a second, which is quite big for a small track and cars that are almost on identical pace around the circuit. And Carolis Meškelis will have to look into his rear view mirrors a little bit more than he does look out in front. 1 minute and 20 seconds. That means we are on the penultimate lap of the first race, and this is already lap 13. How fast we're circling around. Actually, that's lap 14, so small track, short laps, and we have plenty of action. 12 corners, so quite a lot of corners completed by the drivers. As mentioned before, the length of the track is 2 kilometers, and plenty of action for the drivers. Technical circuit, not that easy to stay on, and especially stay fast. Juri Lapo already 1.2, 1.3 seconds ahead of Carolis Meškelis, so it looks like Carolis Meškelis was distracted by the 2 cars that approach him. He lost that lead. He's currently second, 4th on the grid for the second race. If he remains in front of Livell, it looks like Matas Mendelis is not gonna be able to chase down on these drivers, but he's not looking for a win this afternoon. He just looks for good results. Livell into the inside, shows his front bumper into in the rear view mirrors of Carlos Mezcales, but was not able to make that move happen. Maybe he was a little bit more careful, doesn't want to make silly moves, silly mistakes, and take himself out and his rival. But he'll have 2 chances on this racetrack to try and go up in to P2. P3 is also not that bad because he'll start in front of Yuri Lapo and Carlos Mezcales for the second race. Currently, Buric should take the pole position. Matas Mendelis should start alongside him. We are on the final lap, and it's now or never, but I think that Level is a little bit too far behind from Carlos Mezcales to try and send the car into the final corner, which is not a slow corner. Carlos Mezcales goes a little bit wide, maybe that's his line. He tries to hit that apex on the exit a little bit later, and Yuri Lapo takes the win. Mezcales finishes second, Mendelis fourth, and Buric taking the pole position for the second race. Well, a short circuit, and a really short race. It ended almost as soon as it started, so the drivers keep bringing the cars home. Contreras already in the pit lane, the driver who suffered from we didn't see what happened at the first part of the race as he was running fifth. He was trying to recover back to the higher positions. It didn't work out. He was taken out by his rival. Race control definitely looking into it, and maybe there will be some decisions. I'm not sure if we will have decisions happening live on during this race because we should have seen penalties coming into our screens, but they are not coming through. So maybe some technical difficulties, but definitely the decisions will be taken if needed. But I'm pretty sure there will be some punishments because we've seen some contacts on the live screen. So Yuri Lapo with 5 kilograms, he managed to win this race without setting the fastest lap time of it. Carlos Mezcales held on to P2, and Level finished third. Mendelis fourth, and Buric taking that pole position as spoken before for the second race. Abad sixth, Godiel seventh, Caetano eighth, Sabutes ninth, and Gonzalo rounding out the top 10. Turent 11th, Pointner 12th, Krebs 13th. He had problems at the beginning of the first race. Pleman 14th, Katai 15th, Kalea 16th, Getsavich 17th, Makovic 18th, and Contreras P19. These are the unofficial results of the first race, and I think we are about ready to start some more racing action. With the second race, we had Division 2 running. JL won the first race, Matsak finished second, and Gedzavicius finished third. So we have Gedzavicius in the first division, and we have Gedzavicius in the first division. Yeah, that's a little bit hard to grasp. Almost identical names and surnames, racing for 2 divisions at the same time. And a short break from racing, and we're about to get hot with the second race. Yep, 1 minute until we see the lights go out again on the Tsukuba circuit. And Buric on the right side of our screens, Mendelis on the left side. It's a tight run into turn 1. It's the drivers have to use the brakes with the cars pointing towards the sky, because it's going up the hill into the first corner. It's a tight corner, but pretty wide circuit at that corner, so the drivers maybe they can try and figure out some slightly riskier moves. They have space to do that and to respect the privacy of the other drivers, to not run into the doors and make some damage. Of roughly 5 seconds till we see the lights go out. Buric on the right side of our screens, and away we go. It looks like Buric had a really nice start for the second race. Livell, he's performing pretty nicely. Wow, so from P3 up into P3. Oh, Matas, Mendelis and Buric, they collide. They almost take out Carlos Meškelis together with him. Yuri Lap on Livell, they go through all the nonsense into turn 1 and they take the lead. Carlos Meškelis has lost places. He's now down in P7 and continues to have contacts with rivals. Matas Mendelis even further behind, and oh, Carlos Meškelis, he didn't see his rival on the side, and the curse continues. So he was unlucky 2 weeks ago, and as soon as he misses that first corner, it looks like he is not able to avoid contacts. And yep, that's Caetano who went hot-headed into one of the corners of the Tsukuba circuit, and Carlos Meškelis is one of the victims in that situation. And again, Carlos Meškelis tries to be fair with his rivals, sometimes unable to see who's running on the sides. Maybe he's using one screen system at his home and not being able to have a good look at the Helicorsa. Because it definitely shows you where your rivals are at the very moment, and somehow he manages to still clip them. Not on every occasion. He was actually taken out by Caetano, the driver, who is currently 5th in the championship standings. He's now down in P16, Meškelis down in P18. He will have his hands full in the second race trying to recover. And Yuri Lapo is right on the tail of Livell, so this time it's a little bit different for Lapo. He's still second. He managed to overtake Livell in the first run at the beginning of the race, and he should and he will try to do that again. Into turn 1, gap is 0.3 of a second, so a little bit too far behind. I'm pretty sure the drivers try to stay on the racetrack, and they are giving a little bit more scrub for the tires because they need to warm them up. Yuri Lapo, the fastest lap time so far in this race. It's the second lap, and we are yet to see the pace grow. Pointner running 5th, no pole position this time. Matas Mendelis hangs on to 6th. He lost a couple of places, but well, he should try to recover, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to do so. Car is definitely scratched. Not sure if that has an impact into the speed of the Mazda that Matas Mendelis drives, and he has Getsavicius and Gonzalo on his tail, but I'm pretty sure he's mostly focused on what's happening in front, 2.3 seconds behind Pointner, and that's still not over for Matas Mendelis, running quite high up the order. Finished 4th in the first race, currently 6th in the second. Pleman runs 8th. Abad 12th. Abad was pretty fast in the pre-qualifying session. He managed to put in 1 minute 2 seconds and 1/10. That would be nice pace in this race for Abad. He needs to focus, and he can do that. Actually, all the drivers are quite fast around this circuit, so they just need to kind of get the clear track. Carlos Meškelis tries to race with Krebs. Brakes late, was not able to brake the car in time. Small contact, I'm pretty sure there's nothing dramatic. Both cars stay on the racetrack, so race control will not have to spend quite a lot of time looking into that incident, because, well, live race control has all the incidents marked for him. For them, and they can simply go into the replay and look at those contacts. It takes time, but definitely a little helper by the system to not they don't have to go through the replays and look into the contacts by themselves. So it's pretty difficult to try and hide from race control with any contacts that you have during the races. They have all the notices in front of the eyes, and they can just go straight into the replay and look at it. On board with Buric, he's currently P3. 1 minute 2 seconds and 4 tenths was his previous lap time. Livell runs a little bit wide into turn 10 and out of turn 11, and that's a pretty good chance. Door wide open. It was wide open for Juri Lapo, but he decides to go back into the slipstream. He's right on the tail before the last corner, but maybe he tries to stay with Livell and build out a slightly bigger gap against themselves, between himself and Buric, just to have a better chance at some action later into the race, to not lose positions, because it's usually really difficult to make that overtake successful. If you have other drivers behind you, you definitely risk to lose the position rather than to gain one if you don't make it perfect. Mendelis 6th, and he's losing time to his rivals in front. That's Pointner and Goodell battling for P4. And we had 19 cars on. We had 19 cars on the grid in race 1, and they managed to make 62 contacts. So I don't know. You decide if that's many contacts or it's not a lot. I think it's definitely. The race was quite intense, and we've seen that on the screens. Of course, most of the contacts happen per first lap. Well, as the races are so tight, the drivers keep banging doors further into the race. So 15 minutes race, 62 contacts, that's a lot, but that's what you expect from these MX5 Cups. Gitsavicius and Gonzalo actually fighting for P7. Mashkal is still 17th, and I believe he just lost even more places because he's now 2.5 seconds behind Katai. Caetano is running 12th. There will be definitely penalties handed out after the race, and I'm pretty sure that this silver-orange car will be one of the cars that will get the attention from race control. We've seen that live on screens. Caetano didn't manage to brake in time. Livell doing everything he can to try and hit those apexes, sometimes running a little bit too wide. Oh, and these slides on the exits not help with traction, and that opens up chances for the drivers behind, and Juri Lapo tries to go around the outside, which is not the best line here on this corner. Well, it's doable, but you have to be pretty precise with your inputs. But well, he only needs to keep putting pressure for Livell, and it looks like that works magic. What a late move, what a nice move into the inside. Livell reacts, and he decides to run a little bit, to take a little bit wider line, just to be able to get back on that power earlier. But it looks like Lapo has the inside, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a successful overtake into final corner. Takes a tight line. This track is wide, even though it's short, it has wide corners, and that opens up the possibility for different race lines, and well, Livell uses them wisely. Even though he runs and takes those wider lines, he was forced to run around the outside, but he managed to get back on the power slightly earlier. That's how racing happens, and if you understand the driving perfectly, you have the chance to well, use all the width and every inch of the circuit to your own advantage. Beautiful driving by Livell as soon as they get side by side with Lapo, though he's not able to avoid mistakes and slides around the corners. That opens up the chances for Juri Lapo to try and make those moves. 5 minutes and 50 seconds till the end of the race, but it's just a little bit too far behind. He should try and stick with the drivers in front because they are battling each other. It's getting tight. They lose time running around the corners. That might open up some chances for Buric to try and take that win. He started first in the second race because he finished 5th. Juri Lapo, he's on the inside. Oh, it was not without contacts, so he didn't hit Livell too hard, but it was a small contact that forced Livell to run a little bit too wide as he would have liked to. And now it's the time for Buric to shine, because Livell will be definitely frustrated and he'll try to get that position back. Juri Lapo won the first race. He's currently looking at win number 2. That would be nice performance by Lapo in this event. He was always there in this championship. He was kind of always succeeding, but never has taken pole or won races. He has one win now, and he's looking for a second one. That will be maximum amount of points for the 5th round. But he has to hold on to his lines. As mentioned before, you can see how wide the track is, and the drivers can run sometimes wider. It seems that they make mistakes, but actually that allows them to get back on the power earlier, and they don't lose that much. Livell already 7/10 behind Lapo, and begins to struggle a little bit with the driving. The red McQueen car is right on the tail of Livell. Can Buric do something in this race to try and finish one position higher? Livell is kind of out of the rhythm, making mistakes. There's someone in the background, someone in the wall. Is that Goodell? No. Mendelis up to P5. Was that Getsavicius? It was Getsavicius who lost the car on the exit, went on the grass. Oh, it was Pointner. Yep, so I was pretty sure it's not Getsavicius. It was Pointner who lost control, hit the wall, and had a little spin that allowed Matas Mendelis to go up to P5. A little thank you for his rival, and Matas Mendelis is still too far behind from his rivals to try and chase them down and overtake them. Those 35 kilograms, it looks like they feel pretty heavy on a tight circuit like Tsukuba. There's no high speed, there are no high speed straights, so, and all the corners are basically low speed corners, and the car, well, it's not able to get back on the power so as soon as the cars of the rivals can. Krebs has 10 kilograms to the added weight, and most of the cars, well, the second heaviest car belongs to Krebs. Krebs is currently 13th. Juri Lapo has 5 kilograms at this event. He'll definitely have more of those for the final of the championship. Livell, he started really confident, managed to go into P1 quite early in this race. He lost that position to Juri Lapo. He's now 1.1 second behind his rival, and there I don't see any chance for Livell to try and take the win of this race unless Juri Lapo makes a silly mistake, which I'm sure will not see the day of light. And Livell has to kind of focus on what's happening ahead of him to lose the attention of Buric, and it looks like he's successfully managing to do that. He had the fastest lap time in the first race. The fastest lap time of the second race goes to Juri Lapo, and it is slightly faster than the fastest lap time of Livell in the first one, but only by 0.005 of a second, so the pace is still pretty equal, and the drivers can put in a fast lap that is similar to the fast laps of other drivers. But speaking about raw pace, you have to be consistent to kind of be the fastest, and that's all about the race pace, and some drivers perform slightly better than the others. Karius Meškelis up to P16 after being dead last in the first laps, and he's pretty fast, 1 minute 1 second and 9/10, but that's not enough. He's 7 seconds behind Contreras, and that's pretty much the race over for him. Matas Mendelis with a company on his back, Gonzalo 0.9 seconds, and he's trying, as the drivers will start the final lap of this one. Livell made a small mistake. He's 2 seconds behind Lapo. Buric is close, but a little bit too far for these cars to take some action around the corners to maybe try and win places, but of course, as soon as Lavelle tries to go on too soon on the power, he loses the back end. That's minimizes the gap between the cars, and he risks to lose position. More battles happening behind on the final lap. That's Pointner, Abad, and Turrent, all fighting for P8 in the second race of the penultimate round in the MX5 Cup Championship on the World Sim Series platform. So, Yuri Lapo out in front. These are very short laps, only 2 km long, and around the final corner, Yuri Lapo will see the checkered flag for the second time in P1. Good performance for Yuri Lapo. He takes the maximum amount of points from this event. Livell manages to finish second, Buric third. Goodell should finish fourth. Matas Mendelis holds on to P5. Gonzalo finishes right behind him. Getsavicius, good result for Getsavicius. He finishes seventh, right in front of Abad, Pointner, Turrent, and yeah, the result screens go crazy, as are the drivers, parking the cars all around the circuit. Carlos Meškelis crossing the line, only P16. So the first race was pretty good for Carlos Meškelis. The second one is sending him straight into the barriers. And that's it. We had couple pretty short races. They were quite interesting. A lot of action, but most of the drivers managed to keep on the circuit. These are the results of the second race. So Lapo taking the win, maximum amount of points. He will have his car heavier for the final round of this championship. Livell second, Buric third, Goodell fourth, Mendelis fifth, Gonzalo sixth, Getsavicius seventh, Abad eighth, Pointner ninth, Turrent 10th, Pleman 11th, Caetano 12th, Krebs 13th, Calais 14th, Contreras 15th, Meškelis 16th, Katai 17th, Sabutis 18th, and Makovic finishes 19th. And yep, that's a wrap up. It was hot and it went out really fast. The next race we will have is this coming Thursday, and we will head over to Estonia, the Porsche ring, with the EBA TCC Championship. Those BMWs will create more close door-to-door action. I really hope my colleague Gustas Grimbergas will feel a little bit better in those 4 days. I wish him wealth and hope to greet him and all of you in 4 days for the third round of the EBA TCC Championship. Hope you had fun. Have a good remaining Sunday evening, and see you then.